Welcome to the first episode of Professional Pillar Talk with me, Jason Livier. These are going to be cozy, intimate, thought-provoking conversations for individuals who are maybe like me, have a very curious mind and are eager to uncover, go a little bit deeper into a wide range of business subjects. So if that's you, please do tune in. The context, or what should I say, the way these interviews will be rolled out will be with other individuals, but sometimes it will be just me and you. The first interview is around a subject that is trending. It is of interest for me. It's personal branding. We're going to have Simon Chappuzeau, might have butchered his surname, but he's an absolute legend. He is the founder and CEO of Storylux, a ghostwriting and done-for-you content creation agency. Please do tune in, enjoy. If you want to give feedback, it is more than welcome. Hit me up on LinkedIn or you will get my email in the notes. Awesome. Let's dive in. Hey, Simon. How you doing?
Good. Good to be with you, Jason.
Awesome. Thanks so much for allowing me to have a conversation with you today. And it's going to be a action-packed, value-driven, I'm super excited for this conversation because firstly, I believe I'm going to learn from you, but I'm excited for anybody who's going to listen because you're really good at what you do. You're a very smart mind. And the gems that are going to come out of here are going to be super, super invaluable. So
no pressure here.
No, not at all, man. You're skilled at what you do. But, before we get into it, I'd love to understand a little bit about you. The most important things that give us context on who Simon is. And I would love you to throw in a little bit around your film background. Because all I know about you, I've known you for a number of years, that you're a business owner, very much focused in the marketing space. But if you could fill in the gaps and just let me know in context who Simon is and what led you to start a business and doing what you do now. Storylux.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So talking about film, that is what I was trained on in. So I'm a trained script analyst. I had no idea that even exists before I went to LA, to UCLA. And originally I wanted to do production management to learn how to produce films. And as I was doing that, I discovered the whole world of script development. Back then, so we're talking about early 2000s, is a thing that did not really exist in Europe, because in Europe, the idea was of the auteur creative mind that sort of like is a genius. Mm-hmm. And in Hollywood, the mindset is like, no, it's a craft. And you can analyze a script, you can break it down into individual parts, and you can name good reasons why you want to change certain things. So that was the thing that I discovered when I was at UCLA. I got really intrigued and went through a training to become a professional script reader. So I'm not writing, I'm just reading scripts. So I was trained in analyzing scripts, understanding what is the structure, understanding how far these scripts adhere to the principles of storytelling. So I could then work with the producer and I'd advise the producer on whether he should invest money in this project, what is like the likely return, and also to work with the author to help them improve the script with a fresh view from the outside. Because if you're an author, you're sort of like so deep in the script that you don't really see what it looks from the outside. So I can tell them, hey, this thing changes this. So that is the film background, and I was in film for maybe 5 years in total, like really full time. And went back to Europe. Wasn't easy to find work because this whole notion of script development wasn't a thing that was a thing. And so it was really hard to get paid for that. And that's how I left that specific thing and did other businesses around film, but not script editing. And funny enough, the skills that I learned as a script editor, working with text, analyzing text, understanding like characters and all these things, is a thing that obviously stayed with me. And now fast forward 20 years, I kept business on. I somehow ended up on LinkedIn as a LinkedIn ghostwriter strategist. And storytelling is a big part of what we have to do on LinkedIn and what to do if we want to develop a personal brand. Talk about that in a second. And I find myself now going back to all the things that I've learned 20 years ago, having left that feels like 15 years ago, a little frustrated, like, oh, why did I study that? Never was useful. And now I see like it's pretty useful because it's the underpinning of everything that we do in marketing and branding.
Amazing. A story that comes to mind is, in school, how everybody hated mathematics. Like you never understood if mathematics is actually going to be used in the real world. And I still don't, but it's super nice to hear, the skills that you learned in the film industry. And I believe you might be an analytical mind from what I have gathered, what you were doing is now translated and used in your business today. That's awesome.
That's a nice analogy. It's like script editing is the maths of the creative world or something like that.
There we go. You've already analyzed and putting your creative mind to it. Exactly. That's super cool. But thanks so much for letting us know a little bit about you. I'm always intrigued around the background of people, and it's super nice to hear that you've transferred your skills into your business. But it's today, I want to understand about you. You mentioned personal branding, that you help your end client, which are CEOs, I believe, build their personal brand. But answer me this question. Why are you building a personal brand?
I'm not building a personal brand.
Okay. You're not?
I don't know. No, whenever I hear this word brand, a personal brand, you got to build a personal brand, it's sort of like slightly cringe because it's always feels like that something that is forced. And you have all these branding experts, and somehow it always feels like it's something that is not natural. And I believe a brand is something that comes organically or naturally when you are who you are and feel comfortable and confident in who you are and what you do, and you don't. So maybe sort of like it qualifies. I think there's sort of like personal brands that feel like there's sort of a construction. It's not really authentic. It's not organic. It's not original. And I believe a lot of brand strategists or brand developers or brand experts help, and when they're doing a great job, help the client identify who they are and what they stand for and develop all these things. And then I think it's a great thing, but I think it's a very organic thing. The more we know and understand who we are, the more organic and automatic it is that we have a brand. So to your point, so I've never set out to now develop the brand of Simon Chappuzeau, but maybe what I did try was to find something that is unique. And I could have said, well, I'm a LinkedIn expert and ghostwriter, and I'm a marketer, which I technically am. But at one point, I understood why not add the storytelling in this film thing, because it's sort of something unique and it's something that makes me different. I didn't add it because it makes me different, but because it's something that is part of me. So when I realized that this story editing film thing is something that is unique to me, I added that to my story and didn't think of it as a brand, but it's now becoming a brand. That you are one of these people who are mirroring this to me, saying, hey, I like this film thing about you, which I never sort of took that serious. And funny enough, I keep hearing it more and more often. And I do this Monday analysis of a viral post as a filmmaker. So I'm communicating that more actively, and it's something that sticks with people. And I think people always like film. It's always sort of positive connotation.
Yeah.
So that's how it's become part of my brand. But I still sort of like didn't set out to construct a brand and like, okay, this is what Simon stands for. But just my aim to find something that is uniquely me and that I can identify with, that I feel authentic, and that's where I can say, okay, that's me. So it's like, that's what I've done. So that's me. And that, I think, is now becoming a brand.
Amazing.
Nothing was shouting out on a whiteboard.
Yeah. So that sounds like to you why you, if you want to use it in words, building versus almost enhancing of a version of who you really are, right? So that's why you go out on LinkedIn. This is why you are in this almost discovery mode of self-development that people will resonate with. And
Absolutely.
resonating with you, possibly there's an end goal in mind. Is there some type of end goal in mind that you have by enhancing or understanding yourself more and presenting that to the world? Do you have an idea on why? Is there an end goal in mind?
Well, I mean, definitely the goal is to build an audience, to build a channel, to then being able to sell something. And I think that's sort of one of the things that I took away from Justin Welch, that he set out to build an audience, to build a channel, because without that, the greatest product in the world won't sell. So building a personal brand in that sense. What I do on LinkedIn is, I mean, I publish daily and people respond, and that creates awareness. And I can see more and more that there is an audience that listens to what I have to say or what I'm saying. And in that sense, I'm succeeding, and succeeding in the sense that people inquire about my services, sell consulting around storytelling in LinkedIn and AI. So the end goal is to build a channel that allows me to sell more of what I can give.
Interesting. So a byproduct of you understanding yourself more and being able to present that to the world constructively, and you've chosen a platform, LinkedIn, a byproduct of that is possibly people buying your services. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But taking a step back, what are some of the indicators, if you want to call them KPIs, that you know that you're going in the right direction with this effort?
Well, I think the ultimate indicator that we have to pay attention to is the number of inquiries that we get from people who say, hey, tell me about your services, or I want what you offer, depending on how clear we are with what we offer, because that's what in the end means, okay, we are able to generate revenue. And then before that, you have sort of a couple of other indicators like impressions or comments, or people sending connection requests. If you're talking about LinkedIn, that sort of often I think a lot of people chase impressions, but
what are impressions?
Impressions, LinkedIn posts.
Okay, just for anybody else to understand what an impression is.
Like, I mean, it's like if you publish a post on LinkedIn and you get 500, 5,000, 50,000 impressions on that post, so you can develop a lot of vanity around getting more impressions on your content on LinkedIn, to get more reach, to be seen more widely. And I think it's tempting to aim for impressions, which you can manipulate to a certain degree by telling certain stories or saying certain things that will get more impressions because people engage on it, because they like it, but it's probably not getting you any business. So maybe a case in point is I did a post last October 2022 talking about my parents-in-law that stayed with us, and it was sort of like an African story. They stayed with us for like 10 months for some medical things. And so we had a little commune living together, my wife's parents, her and me. And sort of for me, it was a bit of a cultural experience because she's from Uganda and sort of like Germany and Europe, different, all that. So we lived together peacefully. And I wrote a post about that. That was zero business, was like just a personal experience share. That post became viral. I don't know, like 2,000 or 5,000 likes and I don't know, 100,000 impressions or something.
Yeah.
And for days and weeks, I had like people sort of commenting on the post. They were all mostly from Uganda, East Africa. So you could see that it resonated with a specific audience. And it was a great experience because they really appreciated my share without sort of like being sort of like the typical European or whatnot. So that resonated. But business-wise, it was like completely useless because it didn't drive any leads. It did resonate with target market people, which is more like Western world country CEOs of companies that can pay in dollars. So I can manipulate and I can write posts that will get me impressions, but if they don't align with my brand, that's sort of like a useless exercise. And I think that's the big challenge with getting impressions on LinkedIn, being clear who you are, writing for your audience. And if you have a niche audience on LinkedIn, that can mean that you have maybe only 500 impressions on your post. But if you get 2 inquiries from that, that is more worth than if you get 50,000 impressions and you don't have any inquiries because it's not your target audience.
Great. That is such a great example. And it's even better that you got experience firsthand from that. So understanding that, yeah, there's different KPIs, but end of the day, the key one would be to understand if people are asking for your services via a website or a DM. Okay. That's very, very clear. And I want to summarize some of the things up, but before we, end this off, what was the biggest mistake you've made while building your personal brand?
I haven't thought about that. Starting earlier. I mean, I could have started many years prior, but I never thought about it. Was actually you
Okay.
that we started on publishing on LinkedIn because you pointed me to Justin Welch.
Yes.
And then I studied his LinkedIn operating system manual course. And I was like, hey, I could write. I mean, why don't I? And then I gave it a try. And everything came from there. But up to that point, I didn't really publish or had any visibility out in the world. So what was the question?
What was your biggest mistake? Okay, so
biggest mistake, yeah. Start early.
Yeah, okay, you start earlier. So maybe diving deep into that, why didn't you start earlier? What was your idea of LinkedIn, or what was your idea of actually publishing or understanding and sharing yourself, as you would want to say it, to the world? Why didn't you start?
Okay, well, I think before that, my idea with what marketing said was to do it in a very direct way. So I was focusing on business coaches, and I can easily identify business coaches on LinkedIn. So we used it as a lead generation tool by searching for people and then sending them emails or direct messages. But I did not upgrade the profile to be particularly business coaches as a way to build a brand and create awareness. And Justin Welch gave me the idea of like, hey, you want to have a channel, and you want to make sure that you control the channel. So that's sort of like the light bulb went off at that time.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, you don't know what you don't know, really. So I wouldn't beat yourself up that you should have started earlier, because, there's so many people who haven't even started, but they know. So that's maybe leads me to my last question. What really, besides me, what was the real golden moment where you were like, you know what? Even though Jason has encouraged me, I'm watching Justin Welch. What was that moment where you're like, okay, I need to change what I'm doing because it's going to benefit me? Like, what would you say if it's one thing or two, three things that made you realize, if I don't start this, it's not going to be, I'm missing out, or I'm going to gain so much? What was that? What was that moment look like?
Well, I think I would sort of like rather turn it around and sort of put it more in the way of, once I saw the potential that was available by doing certain things, I doubled down and sort of really invested more time and energy in doing this, because then I began to see what could happen. Or, I mean, with every post that gets more engagement and more likes, it's a window into the possibilities that you have if you connect with more people and engage and sort of build networks. Every time that happens, every time I meet more people on LinkedIn, this opportunity flashes up again and encourages me to invest more time or to double down on the opportunities that I haven't really leveraged in.
Amazing. That amazingly put. Like, I learned so much about you. Thanks so much, Simon. And
Thank you.
I see you popping up on LinkedIn. You've got such a distinct style, that yellow canvas, those slideshows. And I do, like I said, love the fact that you bring your story back to who you really are as a film analyst.
it's amazing. Like, honestly, if I have to think of you, I'm like, hey, look at the guy in yellow who's a film analyst. He's got such good value to share. And I would encourage anybody who's listening today, go check out Simon on LinkedIn. I'll leave his LinkedIn name in the comments, as well as give you his website. But for now, stay tuned for the next interview. And thanks so much for being online, Simon.
Thank you, Jason. It was a pleasure being here, and great to make me think about branding.
Cool, man. Thanks.